Welcome to the Nathan Nephew Show. I am, of course, your host, Nathan Nephew. You're listening to me on Red State Talk Radio, I hope. If not, you're on nathannephew.com. So the two best places to find the show. Stitcher, you find on Stitcher. Lots of places. Hey, I want to remind you, head over to the At Odds Facebook page, facebook.com/atoddshow. Having another contest. The last one went so well, so if you like that page, and got a gift card for you if you're the lucky winner. That's running for 2 weeks between now and August 29th. Let's go ahead and like that page. As you know, the last couple of weeks I've been going through this fairly important document that we have in this country, the Constitution of the United States of America. I've made it through Article 1, Section 2. Today in story time, Article 1, Section 3. Last week we talked about the House of Representatives. The House was established and it was defined on who could vote for the members of the House of Representatives and who could serve in the House of Representatives. And essentially the House of Representatives was created in order to, I'm going to say, protect the rights of the people, the individual people in the state. The Senate, a bit different than that. Composed of 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature thereof. And senators are, as you know, in office. They have 6-year terms. Right after the first election to choose senators, the idea was that the senators would be split up into 3 groups as equally as possible, because there wasn't a nice even number of 50 states when this took effect. Split them up into 3 groups, and after 2 years you had an election, after 4 years you had an election, after 6 years you had an election, and then from then on, every 2 years, a third of the Senate would be up for election again. As you know, we have midterm elections, and then we have some states also vote for senators during the presidential election. So every 2 years there is a vote for approximately a third of the senators in the U.S. Senate. Article 1, Section 3 also lays out who qualifies to be a senator. No person shall be a senator who shall not have attained the age of 30 years and been 9 years a citizen of the United States, and who is not an inhabitant of that state when they're elected. So once again, you have to be an inhabitant of the state you are elected in. There's not really districts for senators, just 2 senators per state. 30 years old, and you have to have been a citizen of the United States for 9 years. So that's fairly strict requirements. A bit more than the House of Representatives, not quite as strict as the president, which we will get to in due course here. That's later in the Constitution because, well, let's see. We know, we haven't got to this yet, but we know there are 3 branches of government. And I don't know that let me look back at the Constitution. It's kind of long here, but no, the president wasn't first in the Constitution. So I think maybe the people who wrote this up didn't actually think that the president, the executive branch, was the most important. That's interesting. The vice president of the United States shall be president of the Senate, but shall have no vote unless they be equally divided. So, the vice president of the United States, Mr. Hairplugs there, what's his name? Joe Biden. Joe Biden. And Brian almost talked. Brian is in the studio with me once again because he just likes me so much and just won't leave.
Biden.
Joe Biden.
Not Dr. Joe Biden.
No, that his wife's a doctor. Dr. Jill. Dr. Jill Biden. Last time we played the clip of Obama not remembering her name.
Struggling.
Michelle and Joe, the vice president's wife. Yeah, all right. Hey, Mr. President, where were you during Benghazi? We still don't know, but we found out where you were during the Bin Laden raid. And we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, vice president only gets to vote if the Senate is tied on an issue. So right now, if there is 50 votes on one side, 50 votes on the other, that'd be a tie. Vice president gets to be the tiebreaker. And they also select a president pro tem, which essentially acts as the president of the Senate, that acts as the vice president of the United States would, if the vice president isn't there. Or if the vice president is acting as president of the United States because of some vacancies there, the president's sick, the president's been assassinated, whatever the case may be. If the vice president's not available to preside over the Senate, then they will select a temporary president of the Senate. Now here's another area where the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives have different functions in the same, they serve different functions for a certain procedure, and that's impeachment. Now we learned in Article 1, Section 2 that the House of Representatives brings about all impeachments. They all start in the House. They vote, they impeach somebody. The Senate tries all of the impeachments. And when the Senate is trying an impeachment, they act as if they are a court. And no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. So 2/3 vote in the Senate, which is acting as a court of law, which means people are under oath. They're testifying as if it was a court. But also, if the Senate does vote for impeachment, 2/3 vote for impeachment, the penalty is not anything more than removal of office and disqualification of future federal offices. So Bill Clinton, had he been impeached by the Senate, tried by the Senate and impeached, he wouldn't be able to serve in any federal office anymore, but he could go back to Little Rock and become governor of Arkansas again. Again, the state has the power. An impeachment in the U.S. Senate does not affect their ability to serve on state government, local government, anything like that. It only affects the federal government. That's pretty much it for the Senate. The Senate's set up now. We know that they have sole power to try impeachments. We know you have to be 30 years old and been a citizen of the United States for 9 years. This really isn't complicated stuff. One more interesting point, and I'll actually give Brian a little credit for this. He brought this up, and we saw some evidence of it a couple weeks ago when a member stood up who didn't seem to be from any state and talked about how offensive it was that the Washington Redskins were named the Redskins, is because, they only have that name because it's a racial thing, and, we have to be sensitive to everybody's needs and feelings, sensitive to their feelings. But territories, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, these types of places, they have delegates who cannot vote on legislation. They don't get an actual vote, but they can serve on committees. They can vote in committees. They can vote on procedural things. So if somebody makes a motion to suspend the rules or something in the Senate, which they do often because rules are meant to be suspended if you work for the government. These delegates, these non-voting members in the House, they are in the House of Representatives. They get no representation in the U.S. Senate, but in the House of Representatives, District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, any other territories we have, Guam, if it doesn't tip over.
Yeah.
If it does tip over, then they may not have a representative anymore. But they don't get to vote on legislation, but they do have a say. They can speak on the House floor and say what they have to say. They represent their people.
Sure.
We don't hear much from them because I don't even know if they go to all of the sessions or not.
Well, they don't have a lot of clout. They're not.
No,
they're
they
not
really
a state,
don't, and they can't vote. They can't vote at all. So the idea, you wonder why are there two chambers in the legislature? Why not just make it one big group? And the idea is much like the reason that we have these delegates from these territories is that the House of Representatives is meant to represent the interests of the people of the states. Now, the people create the states. The states are represented by senators, and all states being equal, they get 2 senators allotted to them. And the states individually or collectively make up the government, the federal government. So the Senate was created to protect the interests of the state, which is really made up of the people, whose interest is protected by the House of Representatives, which is why we see that the House of Representatives are allotted based on population rather than just some fixed number. You have districting and all that stuff. We talked about the census. The House of Representatives, the number of representatives that you have in your state is based entirely on the population of your state and specifically the district that you are in. I'm going to take a quick break here.
Well, okay.
Brian had something to say.
Well, there's a check and balance there. I mean, that's why there's two. There's the Senate and the House, and
well, right, but
it's a check and balance.
Sort of. In some things, like impeachment, which we just talked about,
but
the House
creating laws and stuff. I mean, they propose bills, and you have a House bill and a Senate bill, and they go back and forth, and it's not one powerful unit pushing something through.
Yeah, but if it was just a 635 member body, they would still have the same debate. I guess.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, they could. I guess the Senate does have as much power as the House does when it comes to passing a bill because they either pass it or they don't.
Right.
It's a binary decision.
It's another bite of the apple. I mean, the Senate can come up with all kinds of stuff and the House can say, wait a minute, hang on a second. The House, and the idea was that there were a lot more of representatives based on the local districts that they represent. So it's supposed to be more representative of the people within the state, locally within the state.
That's what I said.
Sort of.
It's exactly what I said.
I said it much more confused.
NathanNephew.com. We'll be right back.
When it comes to TV, if you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best value in entertainment. Not only will you find the same channels you know and love for less, Dish sweetens the deal with free HD for life and premium movie channels free for 3 months, including Blockbuster at home. You can also save a bundle when you combine DishNet high-speed internet with your TV service. Why would you ever pay more for TV? Switch to Dish and see what real value is. Free HD for life, premium channels free for 3 months, scores of movies with Blockbuster at home, premium savings when you bundle DishNet high-speed internet service. Limited time offer, 24-month agreement with credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. Call for details.
Call Dish Satellite, your Dish authorized retailer now. 800-507-9468. 800-507-9468. 800-507-9468. That's 800-507-9468.
Red State Talk Radio is All American Talk Radio.
The Nathan Nephew Show. Somewhat unique.
Somewhat unique?
Yes, somewhat unique.
Welcome back to the Nathan Nephew Show. I am still Nathan Nephew, your host. Brian is still in the studio with me. Brian from At Odds. He is. I muted his mic though because he wouldn't be quiet.
Yes, I am. Muted again.
Don't forget, Brian will like it. Don't forget to head over to Facebook.com/AtOddShow and like our page for At Odd Show. That's a different show, obviously, right here on Red State Talk Radio. We're running another contest. This time it is for a gift certificate to Burger King, which I love cheeseburgers. $10 gift certificate to Burger King. Went to a rodeo this week, and I had never been to a rodeo before.
No, it's rodeo.
And I don't know necessarily that
Muting my mic again.
That it was a bad choice to have never gone to a rodeo before, because really I didn't enjoy it that much. The clown was cool. But I bring it up because we're still hearing crap about the rodeo clown and announcer in Missouri at the state fair that had a mask that kind of looked like Barack Obama. The ears were a little smaller on the mask than the real person, but you could tell what they were going for. It was a white-black guy that they put it on a post.
What did the mask look like?
It looked like Obama a little bit.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure? Who did it look like?
Obama?
Never mind.
Okay, I don't know. I'm trying to do a show.
I know, but you muted my sound effects, I think. I had
probably.
Great sound effect. But,
okay.
Apparently.
Anyway.
I'll just close that out.
They brought out the Obama mask, and of course, if you're going to make fun of the president, it's because he's black. There's no other reason to do it.
Not because he's the worst president ever.
Just like Oprah Winfrey goes overseas and tries to look at a bag that's too expensive, the not quite so English speaking clerk tries to show her other bags, and Oprah immediately assumes it's because she's a black girl. She's black. That clerk was racist. Never shop there again. But she won't say who the company was. If she really thinks it's racism, it seems like she might have been upfront right away saying, it was this company, they're racist, don't shop there, because I don't want to shop anywhere that really is discriminating against people because of the color of their skin. And I wouldn't go to a rodeo, and I probably won't again, but I wouldn't go anywhere where there were clowns making fun of somebody because of the color of their skin. Now, what I do think is people that go to rodeos generally are going to disagree with the communist ideas that our president has. And in fact, the rodeo I went to, they did the same thing. They poked fun at the stimulus package. He brought out a go-kart with a porta-potty on it, saying that's all he could afford after Obama's stimulus. It used to be $1 million motorhome. And the bull that they couldn't get out of the pen, saying it's just like Obama. We can't get him the hell out of here. This is what they do. You can find masks. I've seen Nixon masks. That might be the oldest I've seen. I'm sure you can find older presidents, and I know you can find like Washington. But as far as caricature type masks, because of course these aren't exactly accurate. Nixon's nose is probably the biggest nose I've ever seen on the masks that I've seen him. There's Reagan masks, there's Bush 41 masks, there's Bush 43 masks, there's Clinton masks. It's just what you do. It would be weird. It would be un-American to not make fun of the president in certain situations. It's not like it's not like we're at a press conference and the president's up there doing something and people are making fun of him. Or it's not like, I don't know, one of the biggest raids on a terrorist in the history of this country is going down and people are playing solitaire or something while this is going on. Or what was that? Oh, that's right. Reggie Love, who is good friends with the president, it was his personal aide, spoke out and didn't mention anything about racism, but we did get some insight into at least where he claims the president was while the raid was going down on the compound that Bin Laden was in. The SEAL team that our president, through much coaxing, now remember he had to be asked several times to make the call to send a SEAL team in to get Bin Laden. But while that was going down, the president just couldn't watch.
Most people were like down in the Situation Room, but he was like, I'm not going to be down here. I can't watch this entire thing. And so he, myself, Pete Souza, the White House photographer, and Marvin, we must have played 15 games of spades.
Now, if this is true, and I have no reason to believe that it's not, because falls right in line with all of the other cowardly things that this jerk has done since he's been in office. He made the decision to send the SEAL team in, even though he had to be coaxed into it. He had to be pulled off of the golf course because presidents do two things. They golf and they travel. They go on vacation. That's what I've learned in the last 5 years anyway. And they make very few decisions, and when they do, they're the wrong decisions. The one decision that he supposedly made that was actually a decision I can agree with, and that was to go in and get Bin Laden when we had the chance. He can't even stick around to take responsibility for it. And as Glenn Beck pointed out today, the picture, the one photo op that he took of in the Situation Room, he's off in a fold-up chair in the corner, not even seeming to be engaged in anything that's going on, just sitting there annoyed in his golf shirt, annoyed that he had to come off the golf course or had to end his last game of spades upstairs because he might have to be there to make a decision. Luckily, there must have been people around him that knew what was going on, including Hillary Clinton, who knew what the right decision was. She was saying, no, you have to do it. And our coward of a president that has been elected twice, mind you, didn't even want to be in the room while this was going down. And so is it any surprise that he would be offended? And we haven't had a personal statement from him. Deputy Press Secretary has said, well, I don't want Missouri to be known for rodeo clowns that make fun of the president. But is it any surprise that this president or all of his supporters would be so offended at a clown making fun of him? Can you imagine if people got as offended when George Bush, anytime he was made fun of? Just think about it. Even from Republicans, just think about how much that man was mocked, or Sarah Palin. It didn't matter what George Bush said, though. He said it because he was stupid, right? Just the way he talked. Everybody just said he doesn't know what he's doing. And I think he was a hell of a lot better president than Barack Obama is. By no means perfect. But nobody claimed racism, even if a black person or a Hispanic or whoever mocked George Bush. I don't remember hearing anybody claim that it was due to his race. But this great unifier of a president that we have in Barack Hussein Obama is doing the opposite of unifying this country. We have the Trayvon Martin incident that he decided to speak up on. We have the Columbia, Georgetown, the police, when they went and talked to a black man, and he came right out and said, the police acted stupidly. We can't have these things, these knee-jerk reactions based on race. And then we have the rodeo clowns that are just, it's just so offensive. And then we have his other supporters. We have Oprah Winfrey coming out talking about how offensive it is. Al Sharpton just claiming that no black person in this country has ever gotten ahead in life because of the racism. It's not a secret that this country has a history of real racism and real injustice. Times are a bit different, and every single thing that happens that might be a bit offensive cannot be just immediately attributed to racism. That's not going to help us move forward as a country. That's not going to help us get anywhere that we want to be. All it's going to do is further divide us. It's going to pit one side against the other, and we're going to move backwards. And that's what we've been doing. Our economy's been moving backwards. Our standing in the world has been moving backwards. You know, the respect that other countries have for us. We're still supplying Egypt with aid. They don't respect us at all. They're going to do whatever they want, even though our law says we're not supposed to. It's things like this that are either based on political correctness, the cowardness of our president or just pure ignorance. Something has to be done. Changes need to be made. People need to just kind of grow up, suck it up, stop being offended by every little thing, and let's just try to make the right decisions and not decisions based on emotion. Maybe logic. Maybe put a little thought into what you're doing. Stay tuned in right here at Red State Talk Radio. Check me out, NathanNephew.com. You can hear this show again if you missed part of it, or, all of my past shows, adoddshow.com. And Brian, thanks for hanging out with me.
Oh, you got it, buddy. Anytime.
See you next week.